On a summer morning in Idaho, a mother watched her daughter leave with the family dog for a quick walk, completely unaware that it would be the last time she'd ever see either of them. Police searched tirelessly. Volunteers combed the area, but no clues were found, and as weeks turned into months, the case slowly went cold. Then, exactly 1 year later, a hunter tracking elk with a thermal drone captured something strange, something that triggered a chain of events uncovering a nightmare no one could have imagined. The sharp chime of the doorbell sliced through the quiet morning. Lauren Whitaker tightened her robe and walked barefoot across the cold hardwood floor toward the front door. Through the peephole, she saw Detective Ryan Delaney standing outside, his breath visible in the crisp Idaho air. Her heart dropped. In the year since Emily disappeared, every unexpected visit from the police carried the terrifying possibility of closure or devastation. "Detective Delaney," she said, opening the door, her voice trembling. "Have you found—" "Mrs. Whitaker, may I come in? I have news about your daughter's case." Wordlessly, she stepped aside and led him into the living room, where Emily's junior-year school photo still held a place of honor on the mantel. The detective sat down across from her, his expression unreadable. "Early this morning," he began, pulling out a tablet, "we received a call from a hunter named Dale Morrison. He was using a thermal drone to track elk migration in the Coeur d'Alene National Forest when his equipment picked up an unusual heat signature." Lauren's hands tightened in her lap. "What kind of heat signature?" "At first, Mr. Morrison thought it was a coyote. The imaging showed a medium-sized animal tied to a tree deep in the forest, but when he moved the drone closer, it became clear." He turned the tablet toward her, revealing grainy thermal footage. The shape was unmistakable. A dog. A golden retriever. Lauren's world tilted. She gripped the arm of the couch. "Cooper." "We believe so," the detective replied. "The hunter contacted us immediately and we dispatched a team to the area. Mrs. Whitaker, somehow after an entire year, your daughter's dog is still alive." That's impossible," Lauren whispered. "How could he survive that long? And Emily, is she?" "We're mobilizing search teams as we speak. Every available unit is being deployed to the area. But I need you to know, Cooper has already been rescued. He's currently at the Northern Idaho Emergency Veterinary Clinic on Route 22. "He's alive?" she asked, her voice barely a breath. "He is, and from what the team reports, he's been cared for." Lauren was already on her feet, her mind racing. "Cared for? What do you mean, cared for?" "I think it's best if you see for yourself. I can drive you there now." 20 minutes later, they pulled into the clinic parking lot. Before the detective could finish parking, Lauren was out of the car, rushing through the glass doors. The receptionist, sensing her urgency, immediately led them down a hallway and into an exam room. Inside, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and wire-rimmed glasses was gently examining a golden retriever on the table. Even from behind, even after a year, Lauren knew. It was Cooper. Lauren knew it was Cooper. His golden coat was matted in places, his frame thinner than before, but there was no doubt it was him. "Mrs. Whitaker," said Dr. Chen gently, stepping aside. "He's sedated right now, just to keep him calm while we examine him. But he's going to be okay." Lauren's hands trembled as she reached out and touched the dog's fur. He was warm, breathing, alive. "How?" she managed to whisper. Dr. Chen's expression turned thoughtful. "That's what's so remarkable about this case. Despite the trauma he's clearly endured, Cooper shows signs of regular feeding. When we pumped his stomach, we found traces of dry dog food, recent, probably from within the last 12 hours. His overall condition is actually better than expected. Someone has been taking care of him. Someone made sure he stayed alive." Detective Delaney nodded grimly. "The question is, who and why?" Lauren's fingers brushed over the raw rope burns around Cooper's neck. "These marks—" "Yes," Dr. Chen said softly, "from being tied to the tree. But look here." She pointed to Cooper's collar. This isn't the one he was wearing when he disappeared, is it? Lauren stared at the plain blue collar. No tags, no identifying information. He had a red leather collar, she said, almost to herself. With his name, our address, my number. This one's different. Someone replaced it, Detective Delaney noted, jotting something in his notebook. Someone who didn't want him identified. At least, not too soon. But why keep him alive at all? Lauren's voice cracked. If someone took Emily, why feed her dog for a year? Why tie him up where he could be found? The detective's jaw tightened. Those are the questions we intend to answer. Search teams are already en route to the site where Cooper was discovered. If Emily is still out there, if there's any trace of her, we'll find it. Dr. Chen gently stroked Cooper's head. He's been through a lot, but he's a fighter. I'd like to keep him for observation for at least 24 hours and run a few more tests, but physically, he's going to recover. Lauren nodded silently, unable to take her eyes off the dog who had once been her daughter's constant companion. Cooper had been Emily's 16th birthday gift, just 2 years ago. They'd been inseparable, taking morning walks together every Saturday without fail, until that July morning when neither of them returned. Mrs. Whitaker, the detective said gently, this is the strongest lead we've had in months. Someone kept this dog alive, for a reason, that someone knows what happened to Emily. As Lauren stood in that sterile white examination room watching Cooper's chest rise and fall with each tranquilized breath, she felt something she hadn't let herself feel in nearly a year. Hope. Terrible, fragile hope that someone out there had kept her daughter alive, just as they had kept her dog. The phone rang just as she arrived home from the clinic. She had spent the last hour sitting by Cooper's side, trying to process the whirlwind of the morning. On the caller ID, she saw the name. Principal Karen Davis. Lauren, Karen's voice was breathless, urgent. I just heard from the police. About Cooper. The entire Briarwood High School community wants to help. We're organizing volunteer search teams to comb the area where the dog was found. We're hoping to find any trace of Emily. Karen, Lauren's voice broke. Thank you. Several teachers are already heading to your house to help coordinate. We're not wasting a second. Emily is one of ours. We're going to bring her home. Within half an hour, Lauren's quiet suburban house had transformed into a makeshift command center. Cars lined the block. Teachers, parents, and neighbors arrived carrying first aid kits, printed maps, and walkie-talkies. Her kitchen table was covered in topographic maps of the Coeur d'Alene National Forest, and someone had even set up a coffee station in the corner. Coach Mike Landon, the high school's head football coach and now acting search coordinator, stood at the head of the table with a laser pointer. All right, everyone, listen up. We're dividing into teams of 6. Each team gets a section to search, radiating outward from where Cooper was found. He pointed to a red X marked on the map. That's about 15 miles northeast of town, near Pine Hollow Trail. It's rough terrain. Stay alert. As she glanced around the room, Lauren's eyes settled on someone standing a little apart from the others. Mr. Nathan Grayson, Emily's honors biology teacher. He wasn't dressed like the other volunteers in jeans and fleece. He wore brand-new technical hiking gear, a moisture-wicking shirt, convertible trail pants, and pristine, high-end boots. Mrs. Whitaker, he said, approaching her with a gentle expression. I want you to know how deeply this has affected all of us. Emily is a remarkable student. Thank you, Mr. Grayson, she replied quietly. She always loved your class. His eyes lit up with something that might have been pride. She was remarkably dedicated to her honors biology studies, he said. I remember her staying after class just last year, asking me about the prerequisites for pre-med programs. She always wanted to make you proud. Lauren blinked, caught off guard by the specificity of his memory. She talked to you about pre-med? Oh, yes, quite often, Mr. Grayson replied. She was especially anxious about getting into Stanford University's program. Said it was her dream school, but she worried her grades might not be competitive enough. I assured her that with her work ethic and natural intelligence, she had nothing to worry about. He paused for a moment, his expression growing more serious. She mentioned feeling a lot of pressure to succeed, especially after your family's recent changes. The reference to her divorce made Lauren stiffen slightly. Emily had never talked openly with her about how that had affected her, and she hadn't expected her to talk about it with a teacher either. "I'd like to volunteer to lead Search Team C," Mr. Grayson said suddenly, turning back to the group. He pulled a handheld GPS device from his backpack. "I'll take the Eastern Quadrant. I've been reviewing search and rescue protocols all night and brought supplies: flares, emergency blankets, water purification tablets." Coach Landon raised his eyebrows, visibly impressed. "That's some thorough preparation, Nathan. We appreciate the initiative." Mr. Grayson then spread out a topographical map he had apparently printed himself, with elevation lines and trail markers carefully highlighted. "The eastern section has several ravines and dense undergrowth," he explained. "It's not easy terrain. It needs someone with real hiking experience." "Where would you like me?" Lauren asked, stepping closer to the table. Mr. Grayson looked up quickly. "Oh, I think you should join Team A heading north, Mrs. Whitaker. That area's safer, mostly established trails. The eastern route is steep, lots of loose rock. We wouldn't want you getting injured, especially not when Emily needs you strong." Something in the way he gently but firmly steered her away from the eastern zone made Lauren pause, but Coach Landon had already nodded in agreement. "He's right," he said. "Team A is going to be searching near the old logging roads. Much easier terrain." As the volunteers finished organizing into teams and began preparing to head out, Lauren stood back and watched Mr. Grayson with quiet curiosity. He distributed supplies, briefed his group like a professional, and carried himself with the calm focus of someone trained for search operations. For a high school science teacher, he seemed unusually prepared, almost too prepared, for this exact scenario. "We'll find her, Mrs. Whitaker," he said as he passed her on his way to the door, touching her shoulder briefly. "I promise you we'll search every inch of that forest. Emily deserves to come home." A short lull followed as volunteers gathered their gear and sorted transportation. Lauren found herself seated at the kitchen table again with Mr. Grayson and a few other teachers, reviewing the search grid one final time. He had moved his chair close to hers and was pointing out key landmarks on the map. "You know, Mrs. Whitaker," he said in a more confidential tone, "I've been thinking a lot about my conversations with Emily over the past year. There might be places she mentioned that could help us focus the search." "What kind of conversations?" Lauren asked, hanging on to every word, grateful for even the faintest lead. "Well, she often talked about college, about her goals and dreams," he said, leaning back thoughtfully. "She was very anxious about whether she'd get into a good pre-med program. But more than that, she talked about not wanting to let you down, especially after your husband left." Lauren's breath caught. The divorce had been finalized 3 years ago. Emily had seemed so composed about it at the time, almost stoic. She had never voiced those feelings to Lauren directly. "She told you that?" "Oh yes, we talked at length," he said softly. "Her perfectionism was really weighing on her. She'd say things like, 'Mom's been through so much. I can't let her down.' Or, 'What if I'm not smart enough for med school?'" Across the table, Mrs. Collins, the English teacher, shifted uncomfortably. "I had no idea Emily was under so much pressure. She always seemed so confident in class." "She opened up during our tutoring sessions," Mr. Grayson explained. "One-on-one environments often allow students to be more vulnerable. I'm glad we had those sessions." "So am I," Lauren said, gently touching his arm. Her grades in biology improved so much, from B's to solid A's. Those Monday and Wednesday sessions really made a difference. Mr. Grayson's smile faltered for just a moment before returning. "Actually, we met on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I remember clearly. Those were my assigned tutoring days." Lauren frowned. "No, I'm sure it was Mondays and Wednesdays. Those were my late shifts at the hospital. I always left dinner in the fridge for Emily on those nights. Memory can be unreliable during stressful times, Mr. Grayson said, his tone calm and confident. But I'm fairly certain it was Tuesdays and Thursdays. Emily preferred using the science prep room instead of the library. It was quieter, more private, better for focused learning. The prep room? Coach Landon raised an eyebrow. Isn't that usually off-limits to students? I made an exception for dedicated students like Emily, Mr. Grayson replied smoothly. She helped me reorganize the supply cabinets while we reviewed material. It was a form of kinesthetic learning, very effective for her. She earned quite a bit of extra credit staying after school to prep lab experiments. Such a committed student. His voice took on a warm, nostalgic tone that sent a chill down Lauren's spine. The way he spoke about her daughter, the intimacy of his recollections, the familiarity with her thoughts, it felt excessive. How often did these sessions in the prep room happen? She asked, keeping her voice casual. Fairly regularly, he said, sometimes until 5 or 6 in the evening, especially before big exams. She was determined to maintain her A average. He smiled again, but something in his expression, just behind the eyes, made Lauren's skin prickle. I told her, with her natural intelligence and my guidance, there was nothing she couldn't accomplish. Suddenly, his phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit up. Before he could snatch it, Lauren caught a glimpse of the message preview. Stick to the plan. He flipped the phone over quickly. Too quickly. Probably other teachers checking in about the search, he said, voice slightly higher now. Aren't you going to answer it? Mrs. Collins asked. Could be important. No, I'm sure it's nothing urgent, he replied, waving a hand. Let's stay focused on the task at hand. He turned back to the map, but Lauren saw it. His fingers were trembling. The knot in her stomach tightened. Something wasn't right. The inconsistencies in his story, the strange familiarity with Emily's private thoughts, the exclusive use of a restricted room, and now a mysterious text message. Each detail on its own might be innocent, but together they formed something far more troubling. Mr. Grayson, Lauren asked slowly, watching him closely, did Emily ever mention any places in the forest she liked? Specific trails? Any spots she visited regularly? His eyes locked with hers. For a fraction of a second, something flickered. Was it calculation? Alarm? No, he said flatly. She wasn't much of an outdoors type. Preferred books to boots. That's why all of this is so confusing. It's not like her to wander off trail. But that was a lie. Emily loved hiking. She'd been on the school trail team in her sophomore year. She hiked often, with friends, sometimes alone. Either he didn't know Emily at all, or he knew too much and was lying. Through the living room window, Lauren Whitaker watched the driveway as search teams loaded up their gear. Mr. Grayson was outside again, handing out radios and going over safety briefings like a seasoned field coordinator. But inside, Lauren's thoughts kept circling back to their conversation. The contradictions, the tutoring schedule, the tone, the unsettling intimacy. She couldn't ignore the feeling any longer. Quietly, she slipped away from the crowd and made her way upstairs to Emily's bedroom. She hadn't changed much in the past year. The purple comforter Emily picked for her 16th birthday still covered the bed. Her desk looked just as it had the morning she vanished. Laptop closed, pens neatly arranged, textbooks stacked in alphabetical order. Lauren opened the top drawer. There, nestled beneath a notepad, was Emily's academic planner. She flipped it open. Emily had always been methodical, a trait inherited from her father. The planner was filled with neat handwriting and different colored pens, every day mapped out with care. Lauren turned back to the previous fall. In the second week of September, written in blue ink, Science Help, Mr. G, 3:30, room 214. It was a Monday. 2 weeks later, another Monday, then a Wednesday, then a Friday marked Rescheduled. Mr. G had meeting. The pattern continued, scattered, inconsistent, sessions moving around at Mr. Grayson's request. There was no Tuesday-Thursday routine, no regularity, no structure. Her hands trembled as she flipped to the inside pocket. Tucked there were Emily's progress report cards. Everything about Grayson's story was wrong, and Emily, quiet, meticulous Emily, had left behind a record. A silent, color-coded testimony. In September, Emily's biology grade had been a solid B. By October, when the after-school sessions with Mr. Grayson became more frequent, according to the planner, it had risen to an A. By November, she was getting perfect scores across the board. Lauren flipped back to October's weekly pages, reading more closely. That's when she noticed something chilling. Little notes scribbled in purple ink in the margins, Emily's favorite color for personal thoughts. October 15th. Mr. G says I'm special, different from other students. October 22nd. Earned my A today. Mr. G so proud. Lauren's stomach turned. Earned. What exactly had Emily meant by that? As she moved into November, the entries became more troubling. Several lunch periods were marked as science prep room, organizing supplies. But the times didn't make sense. One read 12 to 12:45, though Briarwood High School's lunch break was only 30 minutes. Another noted 12 to 12:50, with a comment, "Late to English, but Mr. G wrote me a pass." Lauren's hands trembled as she reached November 18th. The note, written in Emily's careful script, made her blood run cold. Mr. G gave me the pink bracelet for being his best student today. So pretty. He said not to show Mom because other kids would be jealous and might say mean things. Our special secret. A bracelet. Lauren had never seen any pink bracelet. Her heart raced as she flipped through more pages, finding scattered references to gifts and privileges that no teacher should be giving a student. December 3rd. Mr. G let me use his personal laptop during lunch for research. He trusts me so much. December 10th. Found our secret study spot today. Mr. G says it's just for his special students. Had to promise not to tell anyone, not even Hannah. Hannah, Emily's best friend. They used to share everything, or at least Lauren had thought so. Then she reached December 15th. The entire notes section for that day was filled. Mr. G explained why our tutoring is different from other kids. He says I have potential that needs special nurturing, away from the mediocre masses. His words, "The secret study spot is perfect. No interruptions, no jealous kids watching." He says by senior year I'll be so far ahead of everyone else that getting into Stanford will be easy. Mom will be so proud. Just have to keep our methods private. Mr. G says people wouldn't understand how special our connection is. Lauren's legs buckled and she collapsed onto Emily's bed, the planner clutched tightly in her shaking hands. The secrecy, the gifts, the isolating language. It all screamed grooming, and it made her physically sick. How had she missed this? How had the school? Outside, she could hear the distant thuds of car doors slamming, engines starting, voices calling out as search teams prepared to head out. From her upstairs window, she could see Mr. Grayson down in the driveway, confidently giving last-minute instructions to his team. His voice steady, commanding, familiar. The same voice that had whispered to her daughter about being special. The same voice that had lured her into secrecy with promises and pink bracelets. Lauren's thoughts spun in panic. Should she call Detective Delaney? What if she was wrong? What if she was just being a paranoid mother misreading innocent teacher-student interactions? But what if she was right? What if Mr. Grayson hadn't just been grooming her daughter, but had something to do with her disappearance? She looked out the window again. Mr. Grayson's group, Team C, was supposed to head northeast, toward Pine Hollow Trail, where Cooper had been found. But something twisted in her gut. He had deliberately steered her away from that quadrant. And now, she made up her mind. Lauren tucked Emily's planner into her jacket and raced downstairs. The driveway was buzzing with motion. Volunteers loading gear, confirming radios, climbing into vans. She spotted her assigned group, Team A, gathered near Coach Landon's SUV, but her eyes locked on Mr. Grayson as he made his way to his silver Honda Accord. "Mrs. Whitaker, we're just about ready to head out," called Mrs. Collins from across the yard. "I'll be right there," Lauren replied, heading not toward Team A, but toward her own car. "Just grabbing something from my vehicle." She slipped into her Toyota Camry and started the engine, keeping her gaze fixed on the street. In her rearview mirror, she watched as Mr. Grayson's silver Honda pulled out of the driveway. Team C was supposed to head northeast into the forest, but at the intersection, Mr. Grayson turned south, onto Route 22, the opposite direction. Lauren's hands tightened around the wheel. Where was he going? She eased out onto the road, staying at a careful distance, keeping at least 2 cars between them. Traffic was light enough that she could follow without drawing attention. About 3 miles down Route 22, Mr. Grayson suddenly pulled into a gas station. Lauren's heart pounded as she drove past, not daring to stop. In her side mirror, Lauren saw Mr. Grayson step out of his car at the gas station, his posture tense, eyes scanning the parking lot with visible caution. He looked like someone expecting to be followed. She didn't stop. Instead, she continued down the road and pulled into a Target parking lot a 1/4 mile away. From there, she waited, eyes fixed on the highway. 5 minutes later, his silver Honda reappeared, merging back onto the road and continuing south. Lauren gave him a larger lead this time, 3 cars between them, before easing back onto the highway. They drove another 2 miles, winding deeper into the outskirts of town, when Mr. Grayson made another unexpected move. He pulled over again, this time beside an old, seemingly abandoned fruit stand. But he didn't get out. He just sat there, for an entire minute. Lauren quietly exited the highway onto a side road, ducking her car behind a dense cluster of pine trees. She reached into the glove compartment for the binoculars Emily had once used during a short-lived fascination with birdwatching. Through the lenses, she watched Mr. Grayson. His head was moving constantly, checking mirrors, glancing side to side. He was scanning the area. He was looking for someone. Looking for her. After a minute, he pulled back onto the highway. Lauren's mouth had gone dry. She resumed her pursuit, heart pounding. Mr. Grayson turned west onto Willow Creek Road, a narrow, winding 2-lane road that cut through some of the oldest parts of town. She knew this area. It was filled with a patchwork of aging craftsman homes from the early 1900s, tucked between newer developments. The traffic was light, and she had to fall back even farther to avoid being noticed. Eventually, after nearly 4 miles, she saw his turn signal flash. He pulled into a long, gravel driveway. Lauren didn't slow down. As she passed, she glimpsed the house. An old, well-maintained craftsman sat back from the road, half hidden behind a wall of overgrown rhododendrons. She drove another 1/4 mile before turning around and parking on the shoulder behind a stand of Douglas firs. Her hands trembled as she pulled out her phone and typed the address she'd caught on the mailbox, 4847 Willow Creek Road. The county assessor's website loaded slowly, her signal weak, but finally the listing appeared. Owner, estate of Margaret Grayson. Date of death, November 2019. Beneficiary, Nathan Grayson. Lauren's heart pounded. She dug deeper, finding an obituary for Margaret Grayson, a retired schoolteacher survived only by her grandson, Nathan. The house had been in the Grayson family since 1947. She checked Zillow. The house had been listed as a rental in March 2020, described as a charming 3-bedroom craftsman on 2 wooded acres, perfect for those seeking rural tranquility. Then something jumped out. The listing status had changed to temporarily off-market on June 15, 2023. Emily had disappeared on July 8, 2023, less than a month after Mr. Grayson pulled his grandmother's house off the market. Lauren's blood turned to ice. She got out of the car and approached the property on foot, keeping to the tree line. From her hidden position, she could now see the house more clearly. It was strangely well maintained. Fresh paint, lawn mowed, but a stack of old newspapers sat untouched on the front porch. Maybe a week's worth. Someone was maintaining the property, but not living in it. Fresh tire tracks crisscrossed the gravel driveway. One set belonged to Mr. Grayson's Honda, parked near the garage, but there was another set, slightly older, leading around the back of the house. Despite the cloudy afternoon, no lights were on. The windows were still, silent, but he had entered with a key. He moved like someone used to being there, and he wasn't supposed to be here at all. He was supposed to be leading a search team through the eastern quadrant of the forest, looking for Emily. Instead, he was here. At a house he'd quietly pulled off the rental market 3 weeks before Emily vanished. Lauren crouched behind a dense cluster of huckleberry bushes, her phone in her hand. She hovered over Detective Delaney's number. What would she even say? That she followed her daughter's teacher instead of joining the official search? That she had a feeling something wasn't right based on a planner and the wrong turn he took? She could already hear the detective's questions. Did you see anything illegal? Do you have evidence of a crime? All she had was a teacher at a house he legally owned. Unsettling notes from a missing teenager, and her gut. But if she was right, if Mr. Grayson was involved, any premature action could put Emily in greater danger. She couldn't risk tipping him off. She needed more. Something undeniable. Lauren backed away from the clearing and returned to her car. She drove down Willow Creek Road again, this time scanning for a better vantage point. Then she saw it. An old red barn. Its roof partially collapsed, hidden behind a grove of fir trees. A rutted dirt path snaked behind it. Perfect. She pulled her Camry behind the barn, out of sight from the road, and set off on foot once more. The forest here was thick, the canopy dense. Every step had to be carefully placed to avoid dry twigs. The ground was damp from recent rain, muffling her movement. Eventually, she reached the rear of the Grayson property. From this angle, she could see what wasn't visible from the road. The ground sloped down, revealing the basement level of the house. Most of the windows had been replaced with thick glass blocks, the kind that let in light but blocked visibility. An unusual upgrade for a rental. A deliberate one. Except one. There was a small ventilation window, about 8 inches high, maybe 2 feet wide. It was still regular glass, and behind it, curtains. Lauren squinted through the trees. Curtains. Fresh concrete patches lined the base of the foundation nearby. Her breath caught. She stepped closer. Someone had done recent work here. The concrete along the foundation was newer, lighter in color, not yet weathered like the rest. Whoever had poured it had done so just a few months ago, maybe less, sealing something, reinforcing something. Lauren crept closer, heart thudding so loudly in her chest she was convinced it could be heard from inside the house. She kept low, using the dense overgrowth of rhododendrons as cover, inching toward the small ventilation window near the base of the house. The window was only about a foot off the ground. She crouched low, her knees pressing into the damp earth, and cupped her hands around her eyes to block the glare of the afternoon sun. Then she leaned in, peering through a narrow gap where the curtains didn't quite meet. What she saw made her blood run cold. It was unmistakably a classroom. A whiteboard hung on the far wall covered in dense writing. A desk stood beneath it, textbooks neatly stacked, and draped over the back of the desk chair, Emily's backpack. Lauren's breath caught. The purple backpack with the tiny rip on the front pocket, the one Emily had patched with a smiley face iron-on, the one she'd taken on that last walk, planning to stop at the library afterward. Tears blurred Lauren's vision, but she forced herself to stay focused. She took in every detail. The textbooks, she recognized them. Briarwood High School curriculum. That was the honors biology book Emily had used. The whiteboard notes, cellular respiration, written in Mr. Grayson's precise handwriting. The room wasn't just staged, it was lived in. There was a compact fridge in the corner, a microwave resting on top. Against the far stone wall sat a narrow bed. Old stone. Lauren realized this had once been a root cellar. There was a door near the back, likely a small bathroom, based on the visible PVC piping along the ceiling. Then, movement. Lauren froze. Mr. Grayson appeared, descending what must have been interior stairs just out of her line of sight. He carried a tray, sandwiches, a glass of milk, and an apple cut into slices. Emily's favorite. He stepped further into the room, toward an area beneath the stairs that Lauren couldn't see. His voice came through, muffled but still distinct. "I brought lunch. Turkey and Swiss. Your favorite?" There was a pause, a response. A girl's voice, soft, weary, too quiet to understand. "You know your mother still hasn't figured it out," Mr. Grayson continued, his tone low, almost tender. "But we need to be more careful now that they found Cooper." Another reply. Longer this time. The voice wasn't panicked. It sounded resigned, like someone too exhausted to argue. "I know you miss him," Mr. Grayson said gently, "but it was necessary. We couldn't risk him leading them here too soon. You understand that, don't you? Everything I do, it's to protect you, to protect what we're building together." Another murmur, and then words Lauren could make out, just fragments drifting through the small gap in the window. "Mom won't. The assignments." "Your mother will understand one day," Mr. Grayson replied. "When you graduate with perfect scores, when you get into med school, when you become everything you're capable of being, she'll see I was right. Traditional school was holding you back. Our way is better." Lauren clamped her hand over her mouth to stifle the sob rising in her throat. Emily was alive. Alive. But she wasn't safe. She was trapped in this man's twisted delusion, in a makeshift prison built under a house no one was supposed to be watching. A place soundproofed, hidden, sealed behind fresh concrete and glass blocks. Lauren backed away slowly, still crouching. She needed space. She needed to make the call. The HVAC unit at the corner of the house offered cover. She pressed herself against its humming metal surface and pulled out her phone, hands trembling violently. She dialed 911. The line connected. The dispatcher's voice came through, calm and professional, jarringly so. 911, what's your emergency?" This is Lauren Whitaker," she whispered, breathless. "My daughter Emily. She's alive. I found her. She's at 4847 Willow Creek Road. She's in the basement. She's being held by her teacher, Nathan Grayson." There was a pause on the line. "Ma'am, did you say you can see your missing daughter?" "Yes," Lauren breathed. "Her backpack, his voice. I saw the room. I heard them talking. He's got her in some kind of converted basement. I think it was a root cellar. Please, send someone, now." The dispatcher, Jenna Fields, though Lauren wouldn't learn her name until much later, was already typing furiously. Alerts were going out. "Can you confirm the address?" "Yes, 4847 Willow Creek." Lauren shifted her weight slightly, trying to spell the street name more clearly. Her foot came down on a fallen branch. Crack. The sound cut through the silence like a gunshot. Lauren looked down in horror at what she'd stepped on. A shattered decorative solar light, its plastic casing split open, shards of glass scattered across the ground. Then the back door slammed open so violently it rebounded off the wall. Mr. Grayson stood in the doorway, face twisted with rage, his once calm features contorted into something unrecognizable. "I know, you're there," he shouted, eyes scanning the yard. "Lauren, you followed me? You couldn't trust me to search for her, could you?" Lauren bolted, phone still pressed to her ear. She sprinted toward the trees, the dispatcher's voice crackling in her ear. "Willow Creek Road, 4847. Send help now," she gasped. She didn't get far. Her foot caught on a root hidden beneath the underbrush and she hit the ground hard, the phone flying from her hand. Before she could grab it, Grayson was there. He snatched it up and with a furious grunt hurled it against the brick siding of the house. It shattered on impact, the screen exploding into pieces. "You don't understand," he screamed, voice shaking with fury. "You never understood what Emily really needs, the pressure you put on her, the mediocre school system. I'm protecting her from a world that doesn't deserve her." Lauren scrambled to her feet and ran, branches clawing at her skin and tearing her clothes. She could hear him crashing through the brush behind her, his expensive hiking boots pounding the forest floor. She was drowning in busy work and standardized tests, he raved behind her. I gave her freedom, real learning, a chance to fulfill her true potential. The abandoned barn came into view through the trees. Lauren's legs burned, her lungs screamed for air, but she didn't stop. Her Camry was just ahead, parked behind the barn. 50 feet, 40, 30. She reached it, yanked open the door, and threw herself inside, slamming the locks just as Grayson reached the car. He pounded on the window with both fists. "She wants to be there," he shouted, spit flying. "She's thriving. You'll ruin everything we've built." Lauren started the engine and threw the car into reverse, gravel spraying beneath the tires as she backed away from him. In her rearview mirror, she saw him sprint toward his Honda. She didn't wait. She spun the wheel, tires squealing, and roared onto the road. Her mind was racing even faster than the car. She'd given the dispatcher the address. She'd said it twice. Spelled it. That had to be enough. They had to be coming. Behind her, the silver Honda appeared. Grayson was in pursuit. At the intersection with Ash Lane, Lauren veered right, tires screaming. He followed. She weaved through a residential neighborhood, blowing through stop signs, praying no children were nearby. Left on Birch Avenue, right on Oak Street. Another sharp left onto Pineview Drive. He was still behind her, matching every turn. He knew these roads, too. Route 22 loomed ahead. She merged into traffic without looking, horns blaring from every direction. Grayson followed, cutting off a pickup truck to stay on her tail. But traffic saved her. The backup gave her chances to weave, while he got stuck behind a lumbering RV. By the time she reached the target intersection, he was gone. She pulled into the parking lot, drove to the far corner, and parked between two oversized trucks, shielding her car from the road. Her whole body was shaking, her muscles quivering, her stomach churning. She had no phone, no idea if the help was on the way. All she could do was wait and pray that the dispatcher, Jenna Fields, had understood enough to act. 20 minutes later, Officer Daniel Reyes of the Redmond County Sheriff's Department spotted a silver Honda Accord pulling back into the driveway of 4847 Willow Creek Road. 2 other units were already in position. They had arrived minutes earlier to find the property seemingly empty and were preparing to force entry when the Honda returned. Grayson saw the police cars too late. He tried to reverse, but Officer Reyes's cruiser blocked him in. Within seconds, officers had him out of the vehicle and in cuffs. His cool teacher facade was gone, replaced with unhinged desperation. "You don't understand," he screamed as they read him his rights. "She needs me, her education, her future. I'm the only one who understands her potential." The officers didn't respond. They moved quickly through the house, clearing each floor. Nothing on the main level. Then Deputy Rachel Moore paused by the water heater closet in the basement. Something was off. The heater was oddly positioned. "I've got something," she called out. She pushed it aside. Behind it was a hidden door, painted to blend in with the wall. A secure locking mechanism clicked as Grayson's keys opened it. Beyond, a narrow hallway. And at the end, a second door. Steel. Reinforced. Locked from the outside. "Emily," Officer Reyes called gently, voice muffled through the door. "This is the police. We're here to help." He turned the bolt and opened the door carefully. Inside was exactly what Lauren had described, a converted root cellar that looked like a bizarre underground classroom. And there, sitting quietly at a desk, pencil in hand, was Emily Whitaker. She looked up slowly. Her face was pale from a year without sunlight. Her eyes hollow, distant. Her clothes were clean, but far too big for her thin frame. She wasn't bruised, she wasn't bound, but she had been held, and now, finally, she had been found. In her hands, Emily clutched a spiral notebook, its pages filled with neat, meticulous handwriting. Her voice came out dry and brittle, as though unused for months. "I need to finish this assignment," she said, eyes distant. "Mr. G says I won't get into college if I don't keep my perfect GPA. I have a test tomorrow on cellular mitosis." "Emily, honey, you're safe now," Officer Reyes said gently, moving slowly into the room. "Your mom sent us. You're going home." Emily blinked at him in confusion, her brows knitting. "Home?" she whispered. "But I have homework. 3 chapters, 2 lab reports. Mr. G says, if I fall behind, I'll never catch up. The others are already so far ahead." Deputy Moore had to look away, tears rising unbidden. Emily held that notebook like a lifeline. Months of completed assignments lined in color-coded ink. The desperate work of a child trying to earn her freedom through excellence, not realizing that no amount of A's would ever be enough for the man who had stolen her life. "We'll keep your work safe," Officer Reyes promised softly, coaxing the notebook from her trembling fingers. "But right now, your mom is waiting. She's been looking for you every single day." The fluorescent lights of St. Clair Medical Center seemed painfully bright after the dim shadows of the root cellar. Emily sat quietly on the exam table, swallowed by a hospital gown 2 sizes too large. Nurses took her vitals and drew blood, but she barely noticed. She kept asking the same questions. "Did anyone bring my textbooks? Can I get a pencil? I need to work on calculus before I fall behind." Meanwhile, 3 floors below, Detective Ryan Delaney sat across from Nathan Grayson. The former science teacher was no longer polished or composed, his shirt wrinkled, his hair hanging limp over his forehead, his hands cuffed to the table. "I want to explain," Grayson said. His voice had taken on a pleading tone. "People won't understand, but someone has to know the truth." Detective Delaney quietly pressed record. "Go ahead, Mr. Grayson. Tell me everything." "I noticed Emily the first day she walked into my freshman biology class. 3 years ago," Grayson began, eyes drifting as if reliving it. "She wasn't like the others. She wanted to be perfect, needed approval. Most kids, they're lazy. But Emily, she stayed after class, took notes like her life depended on them." "When did your relationship become inappropriate?" Delaney asked, his voice a neutral mask. "I prefer to think of it as recognizing her true potential," Grayson replied. "Her parents had just divorced. She was struggling, feeling abandoned, insecure. Her grades were slipping. She came to me in tears about her GPA, and I saw an opportunity." He leaned forward as though expecting sympathy. "I explained how weighted grades worked, how with extra assignments and personal tutoring, I could help her climb back to an A. She was so grateful, eager to prove herself." "You used her grades as leverage," Delaney said flatly. "I provided incentive," Grayson countered. "At first, it was just lunch reviews in the prep room, but she responded so well to praise. When I told her she was special, she lit up. She needed it. She needed me." "And the physical contact?" Delaney asked. Grayson's eyes darkened. "It wasn't assault. It was connection. During the anatomy unit, I placed my hand on her shoulder to demonstrate muscle groups. She didn't pull away. She leaned into it. After that, things evolved. A hand on her back, sitting close, a hug when she aced an exam. And the abduction. That was never the plan," Grayson said, voice rising slightly. "But in late June, she told me her mom was considering a job in Portland. They might move before senior year. I couldn't let that happen. She was so close to perfection." He described his preparations with disturbing pride, soundproofing the root cellar, installing a ventilation system, buying a chemical toilet, a mini fridge, a microwave, stocking it with textbooks and notebooks, telling the neighbors he was renovating for a future rental unit. They believed me. Why wouldn't they? I was a respected teacher, just fixing up the family house. And the day she disappeared? I followed her usual Saturday route. She always walked the dog on the Silver Pine Trail. Same time, same place. I intercepted her near the bridge, secluded spot. The chloroform was from old chemistry supplies the school never threw out. She didn't suffer. And the dog? Misleading the search was vital. I scouted the forest site weeks earlier, remote enough for the dog to go unnoticed, but not forever. I wanted him to be found. I fed him, kept him alive, so the search would stay focused out there. Far from the house, hope misdirected is still hope. 2 floors up, in a soft-lit interview room, forensic psychologist Dr. Charlotte Vance sat across from Emily. Through the one-way glass, Lauren watched, tears streaming silently as her daughter recited her trauma in a flat, detached voice. Mr. G explained everything, Emily said, staring at her folded hands. He told me. Mom was relieved I was gone, that now she could date again, that she didn't have to pay for college. He showed me an article about runaways, said that's what I was now. How did that make you feel? Dr. Vance asked gently. At first, hurt, but then I was grateful. Mr. G said he was the only one who really cared. He risked everything to teach me, to prepare me. He said regular schools were distractions. He said I was destined for more. She described her days with eerie calm. Wake up at 6. Breakfast, toast or cereal delivered by tray. Math from 7 to 9. Science until lunch. History and English in the afternoon. Test prep at night. He graded all my work. Gave me detailed feedback. He praised me for perfect scores. Got upset if I didn't do well. He gave me rewards, like the pink bracelet when I got straight A's. New books, different food, screen time, but only when supervised. Did you ever think about leaving? Dr. Vance asked. Emily blinked, genuinely confused. Where would I go? I was a runaway. Mom didn't want me. I missed too much school. I'd never catch up. Dr. Helena Morrison, the trauma specialist, later explained what Lauren already sensed. Emily was deep in Stockholm Syndrome. A year of total isolation, psychological conditioning, and emotional manipulation had reshaped her reality. In her mind, Grayson hadn't kidnapped her. He'd saved her. When Lauren was finally allowed into the room, Emily looked up, unsure, eyes wide and cautious. "Mom!" Lauren rushed forward, falling to her knees and wrapping her daughter in her arms. "Oh, baby. I never stopped looking, not one day. I love you more than anything in this world." Emily remained stiff at first. Then, slowly, like thawing ice, she softened. He said, "You were glad that I was too expensive, too much trouble." "Never," Lauren said fiercely. "You are my whole world. Everything I did, everything, was to find you and bring you home." Detective Delaney entered quietly, nodding to Dr. Vance. "We found everything," he said. "The bracelet, the assignments, college essays she wrote, explaining why she was taking a gap year for independent study. The manipulation was total." Emily pulled back slightly, her voice small again. "My assignments. Did you save them? I need them for my transcripts. What if I don't get into college now? What if missing school ruined everything?" Lauren pulled her close, feeling the fragile bones beneath the hospital gown. "We'll figure it out," she whispered, stroking her daughter's matted hair. "Whatever you need, however long it takes, you're safe now. That's what matters." But even as she said it, she could feel it in her daughter's body. That safety alone wouldn't be enough. Not for a girl whose identity had been built on perfection. Not when her sense of self had been shackled to grades, assignments, and the praise of a predator. This was only the beginning.